Hi there. Today we've got Alison DeMarco, the world-renowned holistic practitioner, coach, trainer and psychic from Scotland with us. And welcome, Alison.
Hi, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Now, we've had a little brief discussion earlier about things, and it's quite important at this time to understand the spiritual side of what we're going through and what we can do and how we keep ourselves in a positive frame of mind through difficult times.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel really strongly, having really worked with people now for over 30 years, that it's about our thinking and how we think and how we relate that to our body, how we can actually motivate ourselves and be in touch with who we are, find our purpose, and not just, it's almost like when you wake up in the morning, in the first minute, you probably thought of things to do, maybe 20, 30 things to do, and potentially you're overwhelmed before you even start the day. And a lot of what we do, we just run in our pattern. So whether when we get up, we go to the bathroom or we go to get the coffee, the kettle on. So we're running these programs all the time because actually we're asleep. So when we wake up and we self-observe ourselves, what we're doing, then we can really understand our thinking, check our thinking, because our thinking can be very negative.
It's very, very true. And if you have negative thoughts, you'll end up getting down on yourself and bringing those around you down.
Absolutely. And I think it's really easy because when we perhaps want to lose weight or we want to become fit, we have this almost mental replay. Oh, we can't do it. We're not good enough. Oh, why bother? Oh, we'll do it tomorrow. So all these programs are running in the background. And if we're not awake, we don't see them. So it's very difficult then to become motivated, become energized. And I think a lot of people who, for example, want to lose weight, well, they focus on losing the weight, but probably the first thing they see when they are thinking about losing weight is a cream cake.
It's food, yeah.
It's really, for me and from my experience, it's about being awake, being aware, looking at our beliefs, our patterns, and all the information we have, because actually we're quite limited on information. In general, there's a wealth of information. And of course, our information that we have gives us the perceptions that we have. And I believe very strongly in breathing techniques and actually for myself, cold showers and being in touch with the body and saying, thank you, body. Oh, you're amazing. Because it's our thinking that stops our body actually doing what it's capable of doing.
Of course it is. The one thing that I've noticed as well, because I obviously live outside of the UK and have done for many years, when I go back, and I'm not being rude when I say this, I'm being factual. Mm-hmm. The UK is getting fatter every time I get back. And there's a very simple reason for that. The ease of convenience food has become everything is so prepared and everything. And I looked at my wife last time we were back there, and I couldn't believe that I saw an apple cut up in a bag. When did we lose the ability just to take a bite out of an apple?
What happened? You're absolutely right. And it's all these fast food chains that are really, well, for me, they're not for me whatsoever. I think if we can eat as organic as we can, eat as fresh as we can, and what I noticed actually a lot over the lockdown was people were actually, wow, I can make scones.
Yeah.
Normal in my day. We didn't go to the shops and buy, but I think it's about really understanding and listening to what we're thinking, because it's our thinking that really keeps us stuck in how, whether it's the beliefs from the past, whether it's the emotional issues from the past, because the body wants to feel safe. It doesn't want to come out its comfort zone. But if we train the mind, it's incredible what the body can do. So I think if we focus less on maybe losing the weight, but focus on getting healthy.
Then, hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, then we can really, but to do that, we really must be aware of what we're thinking.
If you start doing simple exercise, like going for a little walk, you start that way, you lose the craving for sugar. And you and I had a conversation earlier about certain things. And I think that sugar is probably more addictive than all of those things put together, because you get a craving for it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Go on.
Sorry. Yeah, you do. But I think you also have the craving for the way of life that you're used to.
Yeah.
So you make all the excuses, but you have to have thought that excuse.
Yeah.
So you can be aware of the thinking of that excuse. I thought today I might have a fast day today.
Yeah.
But my thinking told me otherwise. And I didn't do it because at that moment in time, I was weak in my thinking.
Yeah.
So I need to build that up. And for me, it's the breathing. And we were talking earlier about the electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
And if the electromagnetic field of nature, if it's resonance, if it's vibrating 7.83, so is the brain. So if we're becoming and wanting to become in tune with nature, healing ourselves, then even dancing, just to the beat of the 7.83 can really help. But most importantly is to almost be aware of every single thought that comes into your, and I know myself, I can have 10, 15 thoughts in the first minute of waking up of things I have to do in the day. And then I'm exhausted and don't want to do any. So I run, get the coffee, sit down. So it's really about when we master our thinking, we can overcome our physical, and the body is capable of so much more.
I could not agree more. I've been watching a program in the evenings. Well, I watch it in the mornings because it's recorded overnight. Rich House, Poor House, where a family changes houses from a rich house to a poor house and vice versa. And it's quite interesting that most of the poor people are fat. Most of the rich people are thin. But last night it was very, very interesting because the rich family that lived in the poor family's house went out for a walk and found an apple and ate it off a tree, and they were amazed. Their house is on the estate, so it's not quite the same. They found this apple and it was lovely. The first thing the poor family did once they had the money in the rich people's house was buy 2 lots of takeaway.
Yeah.
So it's very much in your mind.
Absolutely.
And we need to reprogram our minds.
Absolutely. And I think, as you say, it's absolutely right. But it's not hard. What we have is not hard. People, again, you think it's hard and you don't do it, so you make the excuse. But when you actually empower physically your body, give it energy, as you say, either by eating the right food. But for me, I follow a breathing technique, and it's incredible because you feel as high as a kite, whether you want or whether you don't. But I follow that with a cold shower. And when I first had the cold shower, it was, why would you have a cold shower? Why would you get in that? That's painful. And on the chatterbox went. And I found one of the best ways to stop it is just simply say, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut. I can hear it again, shut. And then I began to look at the shower in a different way, because I would realize when I came out of the shower, I felt wonderful. So what I do now is I ask myself, do you want to have a cold shower? Do you want to feel so great when you come? Right, so just walk into it.
Yeah.
And I'll stay in that for maybe 6-8 minutes.
Wow.
And I feel wonderful.
Well, so, you and I both know from the Middle East, Far East, sorry, about these people who walk on coals, burning coals.
Yeah.
It's the same principle the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your brain is very, very clever, but we just don't use it.
That's right.
And now we're seeing very clever people who are using less of their brain than they should be.
That's true. That's very true.
They're sharing a brain cell with somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
No, the spiritual side is very, very important, because I've been trying to establish truth, and you need to understand the spiritual side to understand truth. And the spiritual side has nothing to do with religion. Spirituality is very, very different to religion. And people can conflict them very often, say, oh, I'm not a religious person. You don't need to be a religious person to understand spirituality. And that's quite important. That when you can connect to the spirits, they can help you with so much stuff, so much stuff. And this theory that I grew up being brainwashed into, that you had to go to church and you had to do this, you don't have to do that at all. The benefit of going to church is fellowship. That's the biggest benefit. Mm-hmm. But you can connect anywhere at any time, whenever you feel it's right inside you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a fact that we have an electromagnetic field, and I believe, from a very young child, I saw color around everything, and I knew things. I could predict things, but it was wrong. It was bad, and and so you begin to go inwards, and you just won't then recognize it or be part of it. It took a long journey for me to come into that spiritual world, and a lot of learning, a lot of research. But our electromagnetic field is, call it your third eye, call it an extra sense, but it senses things like as if you can go in a room and say, I don't get a good vibe. Well, that's vibration. So if we take vibration and we take the light from the sun and we break it down, we've got the frequencies, the vibration, the color, the sound, the energy, the matter. And we are just like radio receivers and transmitters. So vibe is short for vibration. And we've got this ability. And with the colors that are within this information, I can tell someone's life story by just simply them choosing colors. And you can tell, I know their past, their present, where they're going, and their purpose. And it's a fact that the information is contained within the colors. So a person, whatever they've experienced, the person will have that inherent inbuilt language of color, and so it's there. So we can just draw it out. And by doing that, we can help that person to move forward. So the aura, the electromagnetic field, is something that I believe has just been taken away from us.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. You're not sensitive. You don't know anything. And yet people will continuously say, oh, I thought of you and you've just phoned me. Or these things that we now pass off as coincidences, when in fact it's our energy, our aura, our electromagnetic field that's internal and external picking up.
It is. And an aura is, I said to you earlier, somebody said to me that I had a certain aura. And I said, explain what that means. And they said to me, well, when I'm with you, I feel good about me, which is a lovely thing to have, that you can make people feel good about themselves.
It's lovely. And you can say to someone, wow, you're looking off color.
Yeah.
Or you can say to someone, you're really looking happy.
Yeah.
What happened to you? Well, how do you know that? Maybe they're smiling or maybe they're sad, but it's more than that. And we can develop it to be more than that.
Brilliant. Absolutely amazing.
And I think, some people think that the color somehow is external to us, the aura, but our electromagnetic field is not. It's internal, and it doesn't just stop at the edge of your arm or the edge of your leg or your head. It moves outwards as energy, and it reflects that what is inside. I used to, it was very interesting because I had a dog, an Irish setter, and she was going to be, we didn't know what was going to happen to her. She'd been a puppy and she couldn't walk hardly. And we didn't know, the vet said I had damaged her leg muscles by running her, get an insurance policy. And one night a friend had their easels and paints in my lounge, and I used to draw a mess at school. But anyway, I picked up these paints and I painted a mess. And the artist whose easel it was, do you know what you've drawn? You've drawn your dog. You've drawn Aurora. And it wasn't her legs. There was a huge gap of energy coming out from her back. I had actually drawn Aurora blind. I hadn't even known. And yet this picture you can clearly see is a dog. And it's her back. You can see her eyes and everything. And yet I had no intention. She was just lying at my feet. So I picked up on her electromagnetic energy. I found the gap. I took her to a healer in Scotland who dealt with dogs and horses and goodness knows what else. And people,
Yeah.
he dowsed an exact location of where I had drawn the gap. He found a trapped nerve.
Wow.
I got involved because someone asked me to help. A horse was going to be put down. And we sorted that horse out with the help of a very good friend, a doctor friend. And that's how my system of aura drawings were born. And my daughter, who at the time was about 9, she did a David Icke event and she ended up doing 100 aura drawings. She hadn't a clue what they meant, but she was right. In every single one, she managed to pick up the physical issues, the emotional issues on what was with that person at that time. And so much so, a vet heard of the work I did, and I didn't want to go to this huge animal hospital. He took my daughter, and she drew 10 horses that they weren't his patients, so to speak. And she drew 10 auras, and one of the vets said the only way she could have known what was wrong with that horse was with an X-ray camera.
Wow.
So that means, this is where the misconception, you have to see the aura. No, you don't. You can sense the aura around someone, and from that, pen and paper, crayons, you can draw it.
Well, we sometimes sort of hide when we say somebody has an aura or has a look, we often say the eyes are the window to your soul, because we sort of see it through their eyes.
Yeah.
And you can see kind eyes and you can see evil eyes.
Yeah. That's very true.
My wife being Turkish, we have Turkish eyes all over the house, keeping an eye on us.
Keeping an eye on you.
So I have to be good all the time, because I'm being watched. Quite a challenge.
A good challenge.
It's a good challenge, yeah. Yeah. No, it's fascinating. In these times right now, it gives us an opportunity to look, instead of just watching mainstream media and newspapers, to do some studying about spirituality, to understand our psyche, to understand our makeup, to understand our aura, to understand things. The information's all out there. Mm-hmm. You will like this. I mentioned the other day, I said, when we were younger, we used to go around to our grandparents and research it in the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now they've got Google.
Now they've got Google, absolutely. And
it's a lot easier.
Oh, it's so easy. I think you've just got to sort of trust your judgment, trust yourself as to what is and isn't. And for me, I base spirituality with science of why do we have this energy? But we are energy. What's light? And how does it all come together? But the more that just what you've said, the more that you expand your aura, expand your awareness, gain the information, then the more that you can actually begin to transcode, which is what we're doing, other energy fields, other energies. And this is where certainly in the last 5 years, I've actually managed to bring that to people when they have a reading with me, because before it was like, I can't quantify, I can't understand myself why I can hear someone who's passed on and then give that message, because if I tell someone that I do that, well, what happens if it's not there?
Yeah.
How do I explain this? And so I really developed it, studied it, and most importantly, had the faith in myself.
That's so important.
Yeah.
So important. And that will help you feel good in yourself when you have faith in yourself. Yes. When you love yourself, yes, and have faith in yourself.
Absolutely. And so now when I do the readings and messages will come through, my point is that they contact me, I don't contact them. If I'm sitting with someone and a message comes through, then I will just say that message, no matter how random or not that message. And actually, I just got an article in a paper because somebody's father wanted their ashes to be scattered with his mother, but nobody in the family knew where the mother was. where has she been buried, or where did she have her ashes? So, but we found it, we located it by...
Incredible.
It was incredible. We found, yes, the godmother's plot and everything else by simply listening to instructions that I was being given. So it's about trust, I think, trusting yourself, having a faith, and using your energy in a constructive manner.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And once you, it's very much like when you're teaching a child to walk, when you let them take their first step. And don't be scared to take a tumble, but then you learn how to get up and walk a second step.
Yeah.
That's how you build up your faith and your trust and your, it's a process. It's a process. I've always said trust and respect are not things you ever ask for, they're things that you earn. And I have plenty of time to get people. And it's always worrying, isn't it, when people say, oh, trust me, respect me. And you go, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. No, you can, like I mentioned to you earlier, I put my trust in somebody when I went through a very dark period in my life when I lost my eldest son in a car accident. And I went to some pretty dark places in my mind and in my heart. And somebody suggested that I went to see somebody, and I did. But I went there with a very closed mind, determined they weren't going to find anything, because I didn't really believe in it. And then suddenly they opened up doors inside me that nobody else knew existed. I knew they were in there, but nobody else knew. And once we'd opened those doors and gone through those phases, then there's no other word for it. You become enlightened.
It's true. Yeah, it's absolutely true.
And then your aura can shine because you haven't got the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Yeah, I think also we use so very little of what we're capable of doing, whether that's on a physical level or whether it's on an emotional, spiritual level. We can develop, we were talking about that earlier. And really, just if people understand that we're receivers and transmitters,
exactly,
trust the process, then this is when I actually did NLP. And of course, that took me into this, set of beliefs that I had as a child. I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to. And my trainer, this is many years ago, and my trainer said, trust the process. And that was so right. And I mean, I ended up flying through it. But I also ended up looking at those beliefs and the patterns and the conditions. And so it was an amazing journey.
Well, we have a little motto between the guys of us that have been working on this is trust, truth, transparency, and love.
Yeah.
And we've been working very, very hard to establish truth and to find out exactly what's going on, because most people that know what's happening at the moment know that we're being lied to by our governments, by our by official bodies, whether it's the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the CDC. There's lots of people that are not telling us the truth.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for it, and I've been explaining the reason why. But this is an opportunity for people to learn about themselves, and it's a wonderful time to do some research rather than just sit on the sofa, watch the telly, read the newspaper, and get fat.
And you're right. And even on this, I've done another 2 courses. It's interesting, and I've written articles. So but knowing your purpose. I think people think, well, I can't do anything. What's the point? And they have all this negative chatterbox comes in, and when they really realize, well, you could actually learn to crochet a hat, or you could, there's things that you could do, learn to cook a meal, or, reach out to your neighbors. There's so much that we can do if we really open our awareness and wake up. And we are capable of so much more than, and I know that because what I've gone through, breast cancer. Totally. So I know that when the will kicks in, you get hope, and when hope's there, you get purpose. And I think we're here to unite, to help other people, have compassion, but to do that, we have to have a plan.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think the plan is now, we're now coming through our life. The plan has worked very, very well for those who know what the plan is. For those that haven't been following what's going on, they'll suddenly wake up in shock and go, what just happened?
Yeah.
But there's a very, very clear plan that's happening at the moment with regard to the global financial reset and the revaluation of currencies. That's happening as we speak this week and next week. And people will start to see it and they'll wonder, how did that happen? But
How did that happen?
we've given them an opportunity to try and find out. But when you were talking just now, it reminded me of another thing that I've mentioned before that I absolutely love, is John Cleese used to say, every single person was born a winner.
Yeah.
Out of 1 million seamen, you were the one that survived.
Yes.
What you do with the rest of your life is up to you.
Yeah.
But don't blame everybody else
Yeah.
if things go wrong. It's what's inside you that counts.
Yeah. And I think and that is so good. And actually, research shows that, and it's not necessarily relevant, but it is for me, because when the egg meets the sperm, scientists have seen this flash of light.
Really?
And yeah, and in the beginning, and I don't want to get into all the science and everything else, but in the beginning, there was light, and we cannot live without the light. There would be no life as we know it without the light. And we know also from many, many different people that when a person passes over,
They see the light.
So if we came in with a spark of light at the moment of conception, then that light contains all information. And if we can then take it back, we can then find that person, their true persona of who they were prior to society and everybody else putting their sticky finger on them, conditioning them, treating them in manners that have created emotional blockages, fears, anxieties, programming, and all that. We take that person back, and just by looking at their face, we can say, this is your true personality, and these are the elements: the earth, air, fire, water, that are in this order of strength and weakness that you can develop.
Yeah, there's so much we can learn about that. So much.
Yeah.
But it's been very, very informative. And I think you and I are both on the same page, where we're trying to give people something positive through a very difficult time.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you can actually find the answers in yourself. You don't need to go outside of there. And I know I did when it came to losing weight. The answer was quite simple. Exercise, and then it reduced the amount of food that I wanted to eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it made it easier. But I've been doing that now for 3 years, and I enjoy it. There's obviously times when I don't. I'm not superhuman. There's times when I prefer a gin and tonic in the evening,
Yeah.
a cigarette, and bollocks to the walk in the morning. That's life, and I don't get tough on myself for doing it, because if you go through life where everything's too good, that's no good either. You can't be, Mr. Perfect. And when we talked about food, to have good healthy food, salad, fruit, whatever, good food, good healthy food. That's not to say that once a week, once a month, you can go to McDonald's. But if you're doing it every day, it's not good. It's not healthy.
And I think that brings you around to the fact that we've got to remember is that we've got free will, we've got choice.
Yes.
And, like on Sunday, that was yesterday, something wasn't quite in control of my thinking, and I decided to take a day off. And I was like, so I'm having a day off. I'm not doing the run. I'm going to sit here. And I ended up doing some writing and different things. But it's not just what you said. Don't give yourself that hard time. But at that point in time, I said, you will go out your run tomorrow. And I've gone from walking, and I now jog.
Yeah.
And how did I do that? Because suddenly, with the breathing and with the cold showers, I have the energy, and I'm also in control of my thinking. So therefore, I realised, because my body's got more energy, I can actually jog.
You weren't being chased by the police for not wearing a mask then?
Well, so far, no. Maybe something else.
That would make me jog, I promise you. That's about the only thing that would. Catch me if you can.
No, I'm not that fast. I think you could probably, yeah, you certainly walk at my pace.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I can now jog a mile.
Brilliant.
And, you know, it's about building on everything that you do, that you want to do, and just having that more, you know, because if you say to someone, okay, right, so start jogging or start walking or do something, if they actually can't change their thinking, they're not, because the information that they get, if it's limited, they don't know how they can become motivated.
No. And it's sad, you know, if some people just get stuck and they're scared to open up. And if they opened up, they could find, it's a bit like, I say this carefully, it's a bit like my wife. When I first met her 8.5 years ago, not many people had noticed her around somehow, but she kept herself very much to herself. And then when we started going out, everyone noticed her. Everyone noticed her. Probably, because we were together. And that was the last thing they expected was me to settle down.
Yeah.
But they said there's a shine in her face now. You know, she looked very buoyant, you know, and very happy. And I always used to tease her, and I said, well, you were always a rose. When I met you, you were a rose, but you were just closed up. And all I've done is watered you, which is loving you. That's all I've done. And you've just opened up. Now people can see you. Same rose, just an open rose.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's a lovely way of putting it.
Yeah, and that's, you know, she's still a rose, and I still absolutely adore her. And she's changed my life tremendously. And that's not to say that, you know, we don't have our arguments. She's Turkish. We definitely have our arguments. I always tease her that she's 95% perfect, 5% terrorist. But it's the 5% I love.
Well, it's lovely, isn't it? And it's lovely to love, and it's lovely to be loved.
Oh, it is. It is. It's a lovely feeling to know that somebody's got your back, somebody's got your heart, somebody's got your soul, somebody's got your best interest at heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that doesn't mean that every day is a bed of roses. You will have run-ins and discussions. I call them discussions. Some people call them arguments. But yeah, this is life, and you don't want to get down on yourself at that. You just need to understand that I look at my life through a Christian's eyes. My wife looks at her life through a Muslim's eyes.
Yeah.
And we get on like a house on fire. But we get different perspectives. And as I mentioned to you earlier, we look at the Mediterranean. From one side, it looks very different from the other side. And from underneath, it looks completely different again. But it's the same Mediterranean. So you can have different perspectives, and they can all be right. They can all be different.
Absolutely.
Go on.
No, carry on.
The problem we've got is the left-wing media and the left-wing mentality is, I'm right, and if you don't listen to me, I'll shout you down, and I won't listen to you, and you can't have your view. And I find that very difficult, where people don't listen to other people's views. You don't have to agree with their views. You don't have to agree with them, but it's important to listen to them and try and understand them.
I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, which is we have information, and that information is our beliefs, basically our conditioning, our pattern, our thinking is based on those, the way that we've kind of been brought up, or the information that we've been given. And that information has to be limited. It's coming from a source that has that set of beliefs and patterns and conditions. When we open up and expand our awareness, and as you say, sit back, listen, non-judgmental, just be in the space and allow that person to be and to say and to do, the world would be a much happier place.
Of course it would.
Whenever you see all these comments on Facebook, but they're limited because they don't know the full picture. They've only got one little aspect of it. And then whatever they're going to say positively or negatively is based on their perception coming from a limited source.
Well, it's like if you go onto Google and you put Charlie Ward Marbella, it brings up about my son and when he was killed in the road accident. for some reason, because I work in the Middle East and don't tell people so much what I do, the headline of the newspaper is apparently I'm an oil tycoon.
Right.
Where would you get that from? Because I work in the Middle East.
Yeah.
But it was all over the British media that I'm an oil tycoon. You just go, no, I work in the Middle East. What I do is nothing. It's not what you're saying I'm doing. I do oil deals, yes. But that doesn't make me an oil tycoon.
Yeah.
But it's just like people have a perception, and the media just write what they want to, and it's all sensationalist stuff, and it's happening right now. You know, it happened with Dominic Cummings, where the media are absolutely out in the UK to kill him for going outside. But, you know, they don't make any mention at all of other people from their side that are going outside all the time. It's become absolutely terrible. The media are no longer printing the news. It's just an agenda. The journalism has disappeared.
Yeah.
They're just presenting a story that they've been given, and the biggest problem with that is it's because the funding of the World Health Organization, Bill Gates fund the BBC, Channel 4, ITV, Sky News. They're all funded by them. So they've all got their own agenda, and they're all pumping it out. But I stopped watching the television 10 weeks ago from a point of view of news and stuff like that. And I've started looking on the internet to find out what's going on for real. And it's completely different from what I'm hearing people telling me that it's on the news.
Yes, you just don't know what's going on. And this is where I think it comes back down to the trust. Trust your own judgment. Be responsible for yourself. That's my dog trying to butt in. And take responsibility for your own health, your own wellness. If you think it's fine to go out, you go out. Sure. If you don't think it's fine, just ask yourself why. Look at all the reasons and just try and trust the process of what we're going through at the moment in your own responsible way, without judging other people. If it's not right for you, don't go out. Correct.
And there was a wonderful thing yesterday on Facebook. If a mask works, why do you need 2 meters? And if 2 meters work, why do you need a mask?
Yeah.
And because they're coming out with so much garbage, but all these little sheep, as I like to call them,
yeah,
and they just do as they're told, and they believe everything, and it's just shocking.
It is.
I said as a joke, if they ask you to stick a broom up your arse and sweep the streets, you'll probably do that as well.
I think there's a lot of people who have woken up and who are aware. A lot of people are very spiritual and are awake. But I think there's an element of people it would be great if they could just wake up, have a look at their thinking, they get up in the morning, hey, why not just, instead of waking up thinking, I've got, I can't do anything, just wake up and say, wow, thank you, what a wonderful day.
Yeah.
And the rest of it, stop, because everything comes in timing. If you want to go out and walk, do it whenever the timing's right that you feel.
Sure.
Sometimes I break routine because I've got other things going on, but I still say to myself, oh, now's the time for that walk.
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes automatic.
Well, it's been fabulous talking to you, Alison.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant.
It's been enlightening, and I've enjoyed our little chat, and hopefully between the two of us, we put a smile on some people's faces, not to be worried, not to be stressed in these times. And look, if you can do a little bit of exercise, it starts small. Every flower starts from a seed.
Absolutely.
And you just start off small and then gradually. If you try and rush it, it's not worth it. It won't work. Do it day by day, step by step. And it takes time, but we're coming to a great place in our lives now. We're currently in the Third World War, and we haven't been asked to fight. We've been asked to stay at home and look after
home.
A bit like my own father, who was in the NCC, the Non-Combat Corps, which meant he had the right, because of his religion, not to go and fight, so they stayed behind, chickens.
Right.
There you go. All right, but lovely talking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you. It's been really, really enlightening. Really
Yeah,
enjoyed.
and we'll stay in touch. And if we can wake a few people up, brilliant.
Yeah,
Alison,
absolutely.
and Alison has her own website, alisondemarco.com. So if you want to go onto her website, I'll put a link underneath this so that you can see about her and make contact with her if you wish to find out what's happening. Thank you very much, Alison.
Thank you. Thank you.